Also Shea feeding it in, and good defensive play by Armagh. It's out to Kieran McGeaney, the captain. It's all over.
What a result, sure. Fantastic result for Armagh. Oh, what a credit to them the way they applied themselves when everything seemed gone from them.
A fantastic day for Armagh. They have won the All-Ireland.
So when we look back at some of the All-Ireland title winning teams from the past 20 years, there is one team in particular that catches my attention. And that team is Armagh, because it was the first time in their history that they had won the All-Ireland title, and in fact it remains the only time up until now that they have won an All-Ireland title. Up until then, Armagh had a series of near misses, All-Ireland semi-final defeats, 2 All-Ireland final defeats back in the 70s and 50s, and this would finally be their moment, the moment that all Armagh fans had waited for. In 2002, Armagh would win just their first and only All-Ireland Championship to date after a 112 to 14 point victory over Kerry, marking the most historical sporting memory in the history of County Armagh. So how exactly did they do it? How did Armagh seemingly come from nowhere to dethrone the likes of Kerry, Galway, Meath and even bitter rivals Tyrone, who were also on the rise in that time period? And was it a fluke, or was it the work of great management, a great youth system? A team that had dominated very much at club level. Armagh were a county that was very much on the rise, and following some of the All-Ireland successes up the north from 3 previous counties in the 90s, Gaelic football was very much on the rise in places like Armagh, and in 2002 it finally paid dividends. And in fact, the story of Armagh's success begins in 1995 with the joint managerial appointment of Brian McAlinden and Brian Canavan, otherwise known as the Two Brians era. Up until then, Armagh had been virtually non-existent in Gaelic football. Flash-in-the-pan seasons back in 1953 or 1977, when they would lose in an All-Ireland final, would serve as false dawns, just like the 2 Ulster titles they won in 1980 and 1982. And the state of Armagh football in 1995 was arguably at the lowest it had ever been. 13 years without an Ulster title victory, and despite the appointment of the Two Brians, they would still have to wait a couple of years before they would eventually end their way for Ulster title success. In fact, Armagh would be beaten in the opening game of their championship season in 95, 96 and 97, a couple of defeats to Derry and 1 defeat to bitter rivals Tyrone. However, the success of Armagh would lie very much in club side Crossmaglen Rangers, who won the Ulster Club Championship in 96 and the county's first ever All-Ireland Club Championship in 97. In fact, Crossmaglen Rangers are a critical piece to the jigsaw of Armagh's success, as they won 3 All-Ireland titles in a 4-year period between 1997 and 2000. They were a team that produced significant talents such as Oisin McConville, Paul Harty, Colm O'Neill and John Donaldson, to name a few. It set the tone of Armagh's golden era of Gaelic football, building a winning mentality and gaining the experience of playing in high pressure moments as a Gaelic footballer. And in 1999, it finally paid dividends for Armagh's senior football county side, with a first Ulster title in 17 years, beaten down by 11 points in the final, with standout performances from Dermot Marsden, Paddy McKeever and Kieran McGeaney on the day. And although Armagh would lose that year's All-Ireland semi-final to Meath, they would respond a year later with another Ulster title, this time a 1-point victory over Derry. And they were a team that was very much a handful to deal with for teams. Technical skill and ability of Oisin McConville and physical power of players like McGeaney and Marsden made it very difficult for even the best to stop them. They were a team that focused on quick short hand passing combined with a direct approach, and they were one of the very early adopters of the blanket defence. However, despite giving absolutely everything against Kerry over 2 matches, they would lose another semi-final, this time in heartbreaking fashion. However, despite the feeling around Armagh getting closer towards an All-Ireland success, 2001 would mark the end of the Two Brians era after an early exit in the Ulster Championship to Tyrone and a qualifier defeat at Galway. It meant, of course, that Armagh needed a new manager, a new man to come in, and who else but Joe Kernan. In 2002, Armagh turned to the man who had built Crossmaglen Rangers into the title-winning team that they were, and that in fact was Joe Kernan. And Joe had all the experience required to get Armagh to the promised land. He played in the 1977 All-Ireland defeat to Dublin, and the legendary Armagh manager is always fondly spoken of by those who played under him. A tactician, student of the game, but also an astute and clever mastermind who played the percentages down to the last decimal point. Joe would spend hours of his free time studying the opposition's weaknesses and strengths to identify even the smallest of details to help Armagh get over the line. He was also a leader both on and off the pitch, and someone to whom each player gave 100% of their time and respect to. And Joe would also be known for his famed halftime team talks. Against Dublin in the 2002 All-Ireland semi-final, Kiernan produced the old Armagh jersey that he wore in the 1977 All-Ireland final, and he told his players that would be the reward should they get over the line. And then in the final against Kerry, he produced his runners-up plaque from the 77 final, and he smashed it in the dressing room, insisting his team end that memory and create a new one that would be spoke of for years to come. And perhaps those team talks were the difference maker, as Armagh edged out 1-point victories in both of those games. Armagh would follow up a 4-point Ulster title victory over Donegal with a 1-point close victory over Dublin in the All-Ireland semi-finals. The reward for beating a team with stars such as Jason Sherlock and Kieran Whelan was the All-Ireland final against Kerry, the same team who had beaten them 2 years previously. And of course it was the biggest day for Armagh football since 1977. A team that had stars such as Kieran McGeeney, Dermot Marsden, Stevie McDonnell, Oisin McConville. This was a team that was now ready to win an All-Ireland. The heartbreaks of the 2 years previously, the defeats against Kerry, the disappointments previous years as well, losing against Meath. This was the moment that Armagh fans had waited for to win their first All-Ireland title. And it was a close game. Armagh and Kerry were level 4 times in the first half. But Kerry were a side who would gain the initiative. The experience of winning All-Irelands in the previous couple of years meant that they were the side that were 4 points up at half-time, and it looked as if it was going to be another one of them nearly moments for Armagh to look back on. But just as the game was approaching the final 15 minutes, a fantastic work goal from Oisin McConville and some sublime points from Dermot Marsden and Stevie McDonnell edged Armagh closer to an All-Ireland victory as they edged a point above Kerry going into the closing stages. And Armagh's discipline would rattle Kerry. Armagh capitalised massively on the momentum, and Kerry couldn't counter it. Kerry couldn't respond to Armagh's defensive pressure, and when Tomás O'Shea would loft the ball into the Kerry forward line, it was well defended by Armagh. Kieran McGeeney picked up the ball and only had it for a couple of seconds before the final whistle blew. And Armagh had done it. They finally won the All-Ireland title for the first time in their history and would lift Sam in front of a sea of orange flags in support. And so what were the key determining factors that led Armagh to their All-Ireland success? Well, I think first of all you have to look at Joe Kiernan. Taken in charge of the Crossmaglen Rangers in 1993, he outlined his vision very early on in what he wanted to do. Bringing in players like Oisin McConville, Paul Harty, Colm O'Neill, he very much outlined his vision of playing this aggressive style football, disciplined in defence, blanket defence, making it difficult for teams to break through them, and being very quick on the counter-attack. Of course, the foundations were laid when Crossmaglen won 3 All-Ireland club titles between 1997 and 2000. Armagh's senior county footballing team had been building towards that moment. They'd been building towards an All-Ireland title. Couple of Ulster titles, All-Ireland semi-final appearances. The only thing it was missing, of course, in those early years was in fact Joe Kiernan, as the two Bryans, although they led Armagh very close to that All-Ireland success, they weren't quite the men needed in charge. Instead, of course, it was that of Joe Kiernan. I think another thing, of course, worth mentioning is the rise of football in Ulster at that time. Down, Derry and Donegal had all won All-Ireland titles in the 90s, and of course during this time period there was a significant rise of Gaelic football in Ulster, and of course we would see that with the rise of Tyrone, who would win All-Irelands in 2003 and 2005. And of course when Joe Kiernan came into the hot seat as Armagh manager, they were very much ready. All they needed to do was get over the final hurdle. All they needed to do was have the right preparation and mentality in the final and decisive moments, and that was something that they got. Their win over Dublin, of course, they grinded through, they found a way with big important goals, and of course similarly against Kerry, getting that decisive goal in the second half and finding that key moments that were needed to get them over the line. And although this would be Armagh's only All-Ireland success to date, they of course did still have other successes after this. They would win 3 more Ulster titles. They would also win a National League title in 2005. And of course, they did reach the All-Ireland final again in 2003, but of course, did lose out to bitter rivals Tyrone. And unfortunately for Armagh, the success of course has dwindled very much since that Joe Kiernan era. In fact, in the most recent decade of 2010 up until 2020, it was the first time since the 60s that Armagh had not registered Ulster title in a decade. But of course, they are now very much guided by manager Kieran McGeeney, of course, who was the All-Ireland winning captain in 2002. They're also bringing through young players like Rian O'Neill. So the good times for Armagh, well, they might not be too far away. What's going on, everyone? Thank you very much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, do hit the like button and the subscribe button as well. Share this out to your friends and family if you could. I kindly appreciate it. I'm going to be dropping videos in the next couple of weeks and coming days in regards to some big moments in the GAA in the past. So let me know down in the comments below what you think I should cover. Of course, I'll be dropping news updates on this channel quite regularly in regards to what is going on with the current situation in the GAA, and of course I'll be reacting to some classic games in both football and hurling, so do let me know down in the comments below which games you think I should watch. Anyway, my name is Aaron. Do have a lovely day. The sun is kind of shining recently, so at least we can you know, walk about to the shops and in the sun and whatnot. We can still do something. It's not all negative. Let's be positive, guys. Anyway, lads, right, my name is Aaron. I will see you all soon. All right, goodbye.